Welcome back. Another session recap. Look behind me. We're premium now. We got artwork behind us. You know what we doing, man. All right, let's see. Let's start off on the 4 hour. I'm on the Dow at the moment. What can I see? There was a sweep right here, an inducement, which led to a bullish break of structure. It left behind a decisional and an extreme level of demand. Let's go to the 1 hour. Right here, as you can see, price came here, broke lower, which was the inducement. And then following this inducement, price came here, which could have been the lower high. Instead, it came down, failed to make a lower low, broke up. Decision in the extreme. All right, let's just go check out the NASDAQ real quick on the higher time frame. On the 4 hour, price broke lower right here, broke structure, swept this decisional, entered near the demand zone, but this was simply an liquidity sweep. It was a liquidity sweep. Price came back up into this supply zone, came back down, swept this low, entered the extreme level of demand, and produced a reaction in today's session. All right, so now go down to 15-minute. We have a higher time frame read. I'm gonna go down to replay mode and just walk through my entire trading session. All right, so 15-minute time frame. I could see prices in a higher time frame demand. So with this being in mind and knowing that there's session liquidity resting above and room for price to move bullish since we're in discounted prices, I was on the 1 minute time frame, lower time frames, looking for confirmations. So let's go on the 1 minute. What time is it? 8:59. Okay. I was just switching between the pairs, switching between the NASDAQ and the Dow. NASDAQ opened, price shot bearish, correct? Let's see what the Dow was doing at this time. The Dow, at this time, it had swept the decisional because the decisional was still valid before the market opened. It swept it, came down into the extreme level of demand. Okay, so I'm going to come here, mark out the extreme level of demand, and this was a liquidity sweep as price came into this level of demand. So now I'm on the 1 minute time frame. I can see the Dow has moved bearish. I'm going to look on the NASDAQ now. NASDAQ, let's see what happens. We got the bullish break that I wanted to see. Bullish break, clear bullish momentum from this demand zone, correct? And I'm going to mark out this level of demand right here. This would have been my entry. I had limits set right here. All right. They had a liquidity sweep right in here. One inducement followed by a bullish break of structure right here. Inducement. Now let's see. Do I get tapped into this trade? I do not. I have limits set right here, but at the same time, I also understand price might just continue higher. So I was also monitoring the Dow at the same time. What did I see on the Dow right here? Perfect. At this time, I saw price come down into the extreme demand zone, produce a 1 minute bullish break of structure, and then left behind this demand zone right here. This was my first entry of the day. My first trade of the day on the Dow was right here. This was my entry. So first trade, I entered right here on this candle. As price tapped me in, I had limits set. I think targets were up Tokyo session highs, Asian session. Let's see how price played out right here. So at first, price was rejecting a little bit, showed a little push, failed to make a higher high, which is a sign that price is going to stop me out. I would have moved to break even if price broke this level, but it failed to, continued lower, and then stopped me out right there. So this was my first trade of the day. I hit stop loss. Now I made a blunder right here. I came down to the NASDAQ. I was overanalyzing. I saw that price broke structure right here, which is correct. It did break structure. Left behind a potential supply zone over here. Right there. There it was. Why did I sell from here? There was no reason for me to sell from here. Why? Because the London session highs were up here. We go to the higher time frame. What can we read? We are in an extreme level of demand. There's liquidity above for price to grab. There's no reason for me to be selling from this area. Even worse, if we just pull out the retracement tool, I could see price came down here. It didn't even mitigate the 50% of the bearish leg. So why am I looking for sells once again? It makes no sense. Additionally, look at the momentum price is moving with. It makes no sense for me to be selling from there. However, I just took a loss and I flipped my bias, which was a mistake I made. At this point, I didn't have these limits anymore. So what did I do? I was watching price. Boom. I saw price come up here. Sweep liquidity right there. Come down. Break structure right here. And then left a supply zone right there. On the lower time frame, this looks perfect, but that's why the higher time frame is so important. That's why you have to have a overall narrative and just read the higher time frames and understand where you are with price. Because lower time frame, this entry model is perfect. Supply zone, boom. There's session liquidity, everything I've stated prior. Like this, I should not be selling for. However, this was my entry. I did over leverage a little bit. I'm supposed to risk about 0.5%. I risked about 0.7% on this trade, which is unacceptable. I gotta stay consistent with my risk. Boom, I got stopped out. So right here, I did get stopped out, but I was able to maintain composure. I knew this was a terrible trade. At first, I wanted to just sweep this under the rug, but then I was like, no, I can't sweep this under the rug. I have to talk about this trade. I have to journal it. I'm not going to get better if I sweep these bad trades under the rug. I have to be accountable. Let's go back to the Dow. I was off the NASDAQ because, let's go back one more time. The NASDAQ already moved away. It was already going to probably continue bullish for the session. So I was done with the NASDAQ. I'm like, I'm going to focus on the Dow. I'm going to focus on the Dow. Let's see if I could get another confirmation, another trade. So that was my first loss right there. I had actually marked this out as a smart money trap. Price induced me right here, smart money trap. And then what did it do? Formed an inducement right down in here. This was the inducement. And just looking right here. We were looking for this bullish break of structure. That's what I was looking for right there. We got it right there. That was my confirmation. What was my entry? This demand zone, along with this imbalance, that was my entry for this trade. I'm going to extend this out at the end of the session. Okay, that was my demand zone. Let's further analyze this price action. What can I see? This was a high supply that led to a low. This was a lower high that led to a low. This, however, was a bullish break. Came down, failed to make a lower low, which is good. However, it also failed to make a higher high, which was an inflection. And then price continued, made a lower low. Price came up here, failed, had a lower low, came down here, failed to make a lower low, made a lower high here. Should have continued. If it was bearish, it should have broke this low and continued lower. Instead, came over here. This was an inflection. It failed to make a lower low. And then what did it do? It broke structure right here. All right. So this was my entry. That was just a little dive into the market structure right there and why this is bullish. All right. So that was my entry. Now let's see what price does from here. I'm going to target the Asian session highs right here. Even though there was more room to run above, and I low-key did get greedy. I was like thinking of holding it way further up, but as you're gonna see, price taps me in right here, gives a nice reaction off the tap. Boom, right there. 1 minute break of structure. right there. Confirms everything. I did not move stops to break even here. I moved stops to break even over here on this overall break. So once this broke structure right up in here, actually false. Apologies. I moved to break even once we came into this supply zone because I knew this was a potential area for price to reverse from, perhaps. Um, it did cause that break of structure bearish, and price already did break structure on the 1 minute, so I was okay with moving stops to break even at this point, mitigate to lower the risk I had open. Price broke this, continued higher, trades looking good. I had uh take profits at the Tokyo session right up in here. However, as you're gonna see, price is gonna reach near the London session highs and just consolidate. It's gonna pull back. Let's look at the time. It's about 1 p.m. I was currently away from the charts at this moment. Let's see what price was doing. Just moving down, coming back up, just choppy price action. PM session of Friday. This is what is expected. Let's see. So at this point, I was like just holding the trade. I was just in it. What time is it? I think I closed like literally at the end of the session. So wherever price finishes over here is where I closed. So I literally closed right there. And the market's closed for the weekend. So I closed right there. I was in more profit, but I didn't want to take profit. Why? Because none of my take profits got hit. The London session liquidity was still intact, as well as the Asian session. So I was fine with holding the trade. I don't mind. I didn't really give back profits because it's not like this got hit and I didn't take profits and then went back. It's all right. I'm gonna look over here. That was about a 2.75 RR risk to reward trade. So a quick recap of the session. First loss on the Dow right here looking to buy. Second loss was a bad trade on the Nasdaq right over here looking to short when it was clearly a bullish market. Terrible decision making right there. However, I stayed level headed. I didn't do anything that dumb. Came back, was able to identify this trade right here. Didn't flip biases here, just stayed on the same bias. Caught this trade. Wasn't more profit, but closed over here. Price didn't move as much as I wanted it to, but we still made profit. It's all good. Every day isn't going to be a full take profit where price just goes all the way up there. It might, honestly, but it's just not going to happen today. Like, over the next couple of days, it might continue higher, take out all this liquidity, but just didn't happen today. And I'm a day trader. I don't hold trades outside of the session, New York session. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching my trade recap. It was a Friday, and I was up about half RR today. 2 losses and one 2.5 RR trade. So thank you guys for watching. Peace.